Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am so glad that you are here this morning. Welcome to those of you in the room, and welcome also to those of you joining us via our live stream. And a special welcome to the families who are here this morning. We are so glad you are here. Today's service is called the Interdependent Web. But before we begin, I have just a few announcements to share. Today at 2 o'clock, we are celebrating the life of Betty Cricket Comey. Her son Jim will be here so we can wrap him in our embrace, and we'll gather to share stories and memories of this incredible woman who died just a month shy of her 101st birthday. We will also be live streaming the service on our YouTube channel for those of you who are at a distance. So we'll see you back here at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow begins our Soul Collage Card Workshop downstairs in Acker Bosworth Hall at 2:30 in the afternoon. You do not have to be an artist to come. You simply have to know how to use scissors and a glue stick. And it helps also to have a curiosity about learning more about yourself. We also have a Death Cafe coming up this Saturday, March 9th at 2 in the afternoon. Betsy Simmons is going to convene that gathering, and I will be there as well. We'll get together, eat cake, and talk about all of the questions and fears and hopes we have around death. Also on that day is the Year-Rounders Festival over at Town Hall. We will have a table for the UU Meetinghouse. Thank you, Mary. So please drop by or even stand at the table, right, for a little while. Answer people's questions. You are all our ambassadors for the UU. Brenda wanted me to let you know that one of our piano keys is acting up. Do you want to show them what it does, Brenda? Yeah. Ouch. She is trying her best to play around that, but as you can imagine, it comes up fairly often, so forgive the sound. It's not Brenda, it's the piano. And finally, if you are attending in person this morning, we invite you downstairs to our coffee hour in Acker Bosworth Hall following the service. Now let's take a moment to affirm our community's covenant. You can find this on the little purple laminated cards in your pews, or you can just listen line by line as I say it. I invite you to repeat each line after me. Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
This is our great covenant.
This is our great covenant.
To dwell together in peace.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek the truth in love.
To seek the truth in love.
And to help one another.
And to help one another.
And now, as we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you watching from home to light a candle wherever you are. In that way, we can feel connected even while we are apart. This morning, I invite Shar and Angela to light our chalice for us.
We light this flaming chalice in recognition of the hospitality it represents, the invitation it represents, to come and be our full selves, to come and sit next to each other, to come and open ourselves to connection, to song, and to spirit. Thank you.
Won't you please join me now for our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. That's number 347 in your gray hymnals, Gather the Spirit. Please rise as you are able. Seated. I invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer. During this time or any time during the service, you are welcome to light a silent candle at the table to the right of the pulpit, where there is a journal to record your thoughts and prayers. After the prayer, we'll sing together Spirit of Life, hymn number 123, which you can also find printed on the purple laminated cards in your pews. We'll sing it first in English and then in Spanish. Before our prayer, I'm going to ask Shar to light 2 candles for us in memory of people who have died this week. The brother of our sexton, Steve Cove, passed away on Friday night. His name was Christopher. Please keep Steve and Joanne in your thoughts. And Reverend Helen Murgida, community minister at the First Religious Society UU in Newburyport, died this week. Many of you saw this on the news and reached out to me. Helen was on her way to deliver a prayer at the town meeting when she was accidentally hit by a car. Reverend Rebecca Bryan, who is the senior minister there, asked that other congregations light a candle this morning to support her congregation in Newburyport. And she is going to read a list of names of churches who are holding them in prayer at their service this morning. And we are on it. So please send so much love to the folks in Newburyport. Our prayer this morning is by Steve Dick. Dear God, remind us that you live through people. Your wondrous works appear not by magic, but in the love and concern we can offer to others by what we say and we do. Remind us also that you live through people we do not like, as well as through people we do like. That you live through people who live in other countries, as well as through people who live here. That you live through people who are different from us, as well as people that are our mirror image. Most of all, remind us that the more clearly we see and appreciate you in other people, the more clearly we can see and appreciate you in ourselves. Amen.
Preparations. Our reading this morning is by the Arab-American poet Naomi Shihab Nye. And before I read this, I will share that there are some Arabic words that I've worked through in the beginning of this reading. Naomi says herself that her Arabic is imperfect. I assure you that mine will be too. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. "Help," said the flight attendant. "Talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this." I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. "Shu dawa, shu biduk, habibti, stani shue, min fadlik, shu bit sewi." The minute she heard any words she knew, even poorly, stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there just later. Who's picking you up?" "Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons, just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic, and found out, of course, that they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered in powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we're holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around the gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person at that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. This ends the reading.
Please join us in singing our next hymn, number 159, "This Is My Song." That's 159 in those same gray hymnals. "This is my song." Please rise as you are able.
This is my home.
may be seated. Now is the time in our service where we take a collection for the ongoing support of this meeting house and our shared ministry. I wonder if any of the kids in the back might like to help to take the collection. Yeah? Any takers? We keep the bags right under this altar table. And you can go up each of the rows. Come on up. This is Lorraine. She'll help you, and she'll collect them at the end. As we enjoy a musical reflection by our choir, we welcome your donations here in the sanctuary or online through PayPal or Venmo. You can find that information on our website, uumh.org. And there are QR codes in your pews as well. On and off-site, your offerings will now be gratefully received.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough room and quite enough to chase away any gloom. For our spirit is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for all of us. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all of us. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away. Is in this very room.
Cricket asked that we sing that at her memorial, so you'll be hearing that again this afternoon. I told you, am I on? Yeah. I told you last week that I did my ministerial training at Boston University School of Theology. We did a lot of reading there. We were often assigned over 1,000 pages of reading a week. And we read books about church history, theology, the Hebrew Bible, the New Testament, pastoral care, the Holy Spirit. And they used a lot of words in seminary that we don't usually use too much in our regular lives. Do you have a high or a low Christology, they would ask, meaning, just how divine do you think Jesus is? What about your ecclesiology, they would inquire, meaning, what's the church's role in all of this? And we'd wrestle with questions of theodicy. If God is all-powerful, why do bad things happen? We studied substitutionary atonement, the Apocrypha, apostasy, apologetics, eschatology, filioque, Marcionism, and ontological argument. We practiced exegesis and compared homoousios to homoiousios and learned where the phrase one iota of difference comes from. I kept a dictionary with me at all times. And I learned all these terms and was tested on them, but I didn't actually care very much about them. They didn't resonate with my own faith life. I remember the sense of relief I felt when I finally discovered a theological term that spoke to my heart. I read about it in the second year of seminary in my Theology 2 class. Pantheism. A pantheist is someone who sees the universe as God. Finally, one of those fancy words from the textbook actually applied to my own conception of the divine. And it sounded a lot more profound than web, which was where my secret theological musings had ended up by then. But web still works for me. I see God as a web. I see the universe as God. God is the web of interconnectedness of which we are a part. And the web is not just a universe of scientific systems, although that's part of it. I see it as truly holy. Nature is divine, and so are we. And there is an energy created by that web that is more than the sum of its parts. It's like when people hold hands around a circle, and the connection of their hands creates a warmth which spreads through all of them. I believe that the Spirit can be present with us or absent from us as we are conscious or unconscious of our place in the web. My dear friend Liz, who is a Presbyterian minister in Oregon, jokes with me, please send prayers through the God web. And I do. Because I see God as a web, I see revelation as the moments when the intersections of the web are revealed to us, when we feel most part of the web. Revelation is our eyes opening to this interconnection, and it feels almost like a literal tug on your heart. Robert Weston writes, "There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us with each and each through all life and on to distant stars. Each knows a little corner of the world, and lives as if this were his all. We no more see the farthest reaches of the threads than we see of the future, yet they're there. Touch but one thread, no matter which. The thoughtful eye may trace to distant lands its firm continuing strand, yet lose its filaments as they reach out, but find at last it coming back to him from whom it led. We move as in a fog, aware of self, but only dimly conscious of the rest, as they are close to us in sight or feeling. New objects loom up for a time, fade in and out. Then, sometimes, as we look on unawares, the fog lifts, and there's the web in shimmering beauty, reaching past all horizons. We catch our breath, stretch out eager hands, and then in comes the fog again, and we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen, but the hands were right. The web is real. Our folly is that we so soon forget. Naomi Shihabni's poem, Gate A4, describes one of those moments when the web was revealed to her, and she was able to rest in the joy of it. I like to reread that poem when I forget that it is possible. Okay, so now you know the metaphor that sings in my heart most deeply, the web. In fact, for my ordination, which Lisa teasingly calls me my wedding for one, I designed a graphic for the invitations that was a web of all different colors with a chalice in the middle. The only problem was, even though it was very clear to me what it wasn't clear to everyone else. But I couldn't believe this, so I decided to show the image to my friends in my book club, half of whom were UU and half weren't. And I asked them what they thought it was. What is this? One of the non-UUs took a look and said, "It's a candle in a gay spider web." I have the invitation up here on the altar if any of you want to come look at it later after the service, see what you think it looks like. I also have a picture of the cake that was made for the occasion featuring that candle in a gay spider web. So, with my deep dedication to the image of the web, it should come as no surprise to you that the seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism was always my favorite. Our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part, is a glorious statement, Reverend Forrest Gilmore writes. Yet we make a profound mistake when we limit it to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. Our seventh principle, he says, may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web expressed as the spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of existence, even God, can help us develop that social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. So I was relieved when the seventh principle did not get the axe when the Article 2 Commission began rewriting our shared values. There it is at the top of the pinwheel. the orange wing, interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence, Article 2 says, with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. This winter, we've been going around this shared values pinwheel, and I've been kind of making a case for why each one is important to our faith. But I don't really think I need to do that for interdependence, because I have a hunch that the web of life has meaning for you too. You who love Provincetown, you who love looking for whales, who love being surrounded by water on three sides, who are inspired by the light, who love being held in a network of community. So I don't think I need to spend much more time talking about why interdependence is important. But I do want to talk for a while about how it connects to love and how it breaks our hearts. Is anyone else's heart just broken this week? I mean, if you're paying attention to the news, your heart is broken, right? That convoy of aid trucks moving through Gaza, and the gunfire and the people being run over, and the destruction of a whole land, children starving, and the hostages still not home, and the young man from Cape Cod setting himself on fire to protest our culpability, our financing of this war. Naomi Shihab Nye, whose father was Palestinian, wrote in 2008, "Not everything is lost." I want to call her up and ask her, is that still true? I don't trust the politicians to answer that question, but maybe I can trust the poets. Is connection still possible? Or have we damaged the web beyond repair? Are there tears that will never mend? Does it help to stitch back together the small pieces that we can reach with our own hands in our town, in our family, in our own broken heart? I remind myself, if the news is hard to watch, it is because that thread from over there is still connected to my heart over here. It is tugging on my heart, which is why it hurts. Which means that one strand of the web, anyway, has not frayed beyond repair. It holds. But it is hard not to just clip that strand myself. One snip of the scissors could end my pain, and I could pretend that they are not human, that they deserved it, that this has been going on so long it is inevitable, that I have no role in it. One snip, and I can separate myself from all the violence and hurt in the world by blaming them for black-on-black crime, for pushing too hard on the pronoun thing, for getting pregnant in the first place. I can separate myself from polluted water, the smog in the air. I can bury my head in the sand, and I will not have to see it. I do not have to mourn if I can just demonize, dismiss, refuse to see. Apathy is a strong painkiller. Sometimes I just want to go back to bed and pull the covers over my head. Anyone else? In my despair and distress, one of Wordsworth's poems comes to mind. He wrote, "The world is too much with us." Now, he was talking about materialism, and of course, a poet from the 1800s couldn't possibly have known the feeling of a barrage of 24/7 news coverage in a world made infinitely smaller through globalization and social media. But I find his words to be a perfect expression of how I feel sometimes when I tune into what's going on with the world events, or even just my friends and neighbors. So many of them are ill or dying or unhappy. The world is too much with us. When the world is too much with us, it is tempting to take the covers over the head approach, or other more subtle forms of isolation and disengagement. But I don't think that is the faithful response. It's not on the pinwheel. But what is our faithful response? Come on, pantheism. What do you have for me now? Theism would be easier. I could blame an all-powerful God, or pray to one at least. Pantheism, what have you got for us? Are you ready to wrestle with theodicy with me for a minute? From a spiritual humanist perspective? Okay, pretend you're in seminary. Well, if God is the universe, then we are part of God. And if we are part of God, then how we act reflects the nature of God. And we know violence and destruction are part of the universe. People hurt and kill and deport when they feel disconnected from one another, disconnected from the God web. But when people feel connected, they reach out, they heal, they protest, they donate, they volunteer, and that too says something about the nature of the world, of the universe, of God. So that's what I think the faithful response is when we are overwhelmed by the news. Anything that makes us feel connected rather than disconnected. Anything that adds threads of connection to the web rather than break them. Maybe that faithful response will be directly related to the world event, the personal event that feels overwhelming to us. Maybe we will call our legislators and demand that we stop funding the destruction in Gaza. But maybe our faithful response will be different. Motivated by that sense of connection to others that the news reminds us of, perhaps we can reach out to a neighbor who is grieving. Perhaps we can volunteer at the soup kitchen or at the polls. Whatever honors connection rather than ignoring it. Whatever adds thread. That is the faithful response. Maybe it's with our checkbook. Our checkbooks are full of thread. Downstairs, you'll find posters telling how to donate to the Trural Chapel campaign that will give a home to Pastor Brown's Jamaican congregation. You can help us put them up all over the Outer Cape. Please take a few. You have your own charities and organizations that you see spreading connection and light. Give to them. Volunteer with them. Thank them. Throw your stubborn ounce of string onto the scale on the side of peace, hope, healing, and love. It won't necessarily outweigh the large-scale destruction of the events we are seeing in the news, but it does say and prove and act out something about the nature of the world, of humanity, of the web of God. And when you need to be restored for this heartbreaking work of being part of the world, go to the other places that make connection come alive for you. The ocean, the forest, the mountain. Listen to music and snuggle your head into the fur of your pet, the crook of your lover's arm. Hold a baby. Seek the beauty of silence or of children's laughter. Bury your toes in the sand. Put your hands into the earth. Feel that connection. Let it remind you of the beauty and divinity of the universe. Let those things remind you of why we bother to care about this God web at all. And here's one last piece of advice, not a faithful response to interdependence exactly, but a survival mechanism for it. Some good advice given to me by a minister. Because we will never know how much our efforts, great or small, change the world. Because we cannot measure the length of string that we are spooling out. It's good to have a hobby. Yeah. Something you can put your hand and mind to when you are overwhelmed by life. Preferably something measurable. Something you can begin and end definitively. I recommend starting a puzzle. It won't heal the world, but it is satisfying. The Talmud says, "Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Walk humbly now, do justly now, love mercy now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it." The world is too much with us, but our corner of the world counts too. So let's not pull the covers over our heads just yet. With reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. Amen, and blessed be.
So it has become our practice to pose a question based on the theme of the service each week. It can be a topic of sharing at coffee hour today or with friends during the week. If you'd like to delve deeper into this question, we invite you to join us at our Zoom coffee hour on Tuesday evening at 5. Please contact the office if you need this link. Our question this week is, tell us about a time when you saw the web clearly. Tell us about a time when you saw the web clearly.
You know, we used to join hands at the ends of our services, but that sort of went the way of the dodo bird during COVID. So let's not do that. But why don't we stand as you're able and sort of stretch out your arms, if you're able to. Reach toward each other for our closing words. We move as in a fog, aware of self but dimly conscious of the rest. New objects loom up for a time, fade in and out. Then, sometimes, as we look on unawares, the fog lifts, and there's the web in shimmering beauty. We catch our breath, stretch out eager hands, and then in comes the fog again. You can put your hands down, that fog. And we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen. But the hands were right. The web is real. Our folly is that we too soon forget. Go in peace.